Howdy y'all, Fuzzy Biker here, and welcome to Throwback Thursday. And look what we got today. 1966 Royal Enfield 750 Interceptor. Just an absolutely beautiful example of one. It's hard to find bikes like this in this state. And I did an Interceptor 700 last week, but I wanted to get this one done. This one came in yesterday, and this will not last. This bike will come in and out. This will be out of the shop quick. Bikes in this good of a shape are just hard to find, but phenomenal machine. Just a quick look over here. BSAs, Triumphs, Nortons, AJS, all Ariels, all kinds of madness, motorcycle madness. Anyway, so what is it? Well, it's a Series 1 Interceptor. And so what happened is they had we did the Constellation last week, and that was a 700 or 692, I think. And anyway, that motorcycle was known for having weak cases, leaking oil, vibration, and having a weak clutch. Royal Enfield upped their game with this model, and what they did was they increased the motor size to 736 cc's. I had a hard time finding horsepower figures on this, but the most consistent one I could find was 52 horsepower. I did find one that said 58, but we're going to go with the 52 today, I guess. But it was supposed to be a lot smoother. They did something called dynamic balancing of the crankshafts, and this was supposed to be one of the smoothest parallel twins you could get out of the UK market at that time. And by the way, I think these are only sold in the US market. Built over there, sold over here. Isn't that just gorgeous? So the engine, a parallel twin, overhead valve. The cams are down here. There's a I didn't know this for sure the other day, but in the cylinder there's a tunnel that on both sides that the push rod runs up. There's a very short push rod. The cams are as high as they can be, short push rod, lightweight ones, and those operate the valves, overhead valves. Here you can see the external oil lines. You know, that's a trademark of motorcycles from this time. Other things that they talked about on this was the cylinders were interchangeable. The left and the right cylinder were the same. I think the heads are definitely different because you have to have the, anyway. Look at that. Isn't that just gorgeous? Anyway, carburetors, this had twin amals. The Constellation looked at the other day, had a single amal. Now I'm told the single amal ones are actually quite rare. So, this had twin 1 3/16 inch amals, and what I like about this one is what really grabs you if you're somebody like me is it's got these aluminum velocity stacks and these gorgeous screens on here. Isn't that something? Dual feeds for the carburetors, petcock on each side, feeding each carburetor. A 4-speed transmission with a neutral finder. So you're chugging down the road, you're have a stop sign coming up, you're in 4th gear, you pull in the clutch and you just step on this and it jumps to neutral. You know, you don't have to go through the gears unless you want to. Very interesting. I think this is either the last year of the magneto or the first year of the coils. Let's see what we can find. I don't see any mags, or coils I mean. I don't see any wires. There they are. I go over here. Well, anyway, it's a kickstart only motorcycle. I'm trying to find those what. Anyway, a kickstart only motorcycle, no electric start at this point. Here's the oil pump, I believe. Mechanical tack drive. But something I like about these is this beautiful casework. And I was talking to a friend about this, and I consider this this is when the engineers and the mechanics were still a lot closer related to each other, and the people that built, you know, this kind of thing. And I consider this art of its time. You know, people that dreamt this up, and the people that built the parts, and the people that put it all together, they were all artisans of their own. You know, so quite a deal. Just a gorgeous thing. So the other thing about this engine is they said everything about this was, even though it was similar to the 692, this 736cc, is similar to the 692cc, this 736cc, every part was beefed up. Just about everything was beefed up on it. Like I said, to make it more rigid. They wanted the cases more rigid so it would quit leaking oil. What would happen, I guess, is the other one, the motor would vibrate and the seals would wear and the oil would leak, and there were other problems too. But another thing about this thing is this is called the transmission is bolted to the engine, but it's still kind of a separate thing. Semi-unit transmission, I think is what it was called. But kind of a neat looking thing, isn't it? I consider this part alone to be quite an attractive thing. I mean, look at this. Okay, so moving on. The frame of this motorcycle, the engine is actually part of the frame. And we looked at this the other day on the Constellation, but look at that. This down tube here, made in England right there, comes down here, bolts onto the front of the engine, and then there's nothing here. The back of the engine, the transmission and the engine itself right here, that all bolts to this subframe on the rear. So this rear subframe bolts back here. There is a backbone across the top. So really quite interesting. Very nice design. And what that did was it gave them a very low weight. The weight for this motorcycle rolling was, I think it was supposed to be like 418 or 19 pounds. And I think that was with fuel. Now the fuel, I think I found two numbers for the tank fuel capacity. One was 2 gallons, 1.9 I think. And the other was 2.6. So let's just call it a 2-gallon tank. It looks like a very small tank. Really a neat frame though, isn't it? Just a simplicity. Has a lot of rake. I could not find figures on the rake and trail, you know, or how much displacement, you know, how much travel there was on the suspension or anything like that. But okay, let's start at the front here now. This is the drum brake. I think it's a 7-inch. Get over here to the other side. And you know, I'd seen these things in pictures before in magazines, and I was thought, well, what are they for? Are they aerodynamics? What's the, you know, reasoning for that? And I was talking to Randy Baxter, the owner of this place, and he says, you know, they call them bacon slicers. They're really purely cosmetic, at least in his opinion. And they do make the whole thing look gorgeous. I think they really add a lot to the front end of the motorcycle. These down tubes, these gorgeous covers, they're very different looking than the modern ones. You know, look at these. Those are modern, but they're very different from the other ones that you see. Coming up, another difference between this and the Constellation. The Constellation only had a speedometer. This one actually has a tachometer also. So that's a really nifty thing to have. You know, I can't imagine riding a motorcycle without a tachometer. And look at this, the needle sweeps from right to left. That's really cool, isn't it? No indicated red line. I don't know what that would be. And here, from left to right, 125 mile speedometer. What I found as far as speed goes for this is they said the quarter mile, I read anywhere from 98 to 100 miles with just below 13 seconds, so 12.9 and something, which is really quick, you know, considering, you know, back in the day. And the other thing I found is the top speed. These are supposed to go 120 right out of the box. That's really very impressive, you know. So lots of, you know, lots of speed, lightweight, good looks. You know, I bet this was a real force to be reckoned with. This would be a real power bike, I suppose, back in the day. You know, I'm thinking of other super bikes at that time. I would think of a Harley or something like that, or the Triumphs that are around here. And kind of interesting thing, like I said earlier, the Triumph was supposed to be, this was supposed to be about as smoother than the Triumphs. Just let that soak in. Absolutely gorgeous. Another thing about it is there was more bore than, or more stroke than bore, of course. That's a real common theme in the British motorcycles from this time, and I'm told that has to do with taxation, although I don't know that for a fact, but just a gorgeous looking unit. You know, everything about it is just something interesting. Here is now we have a rectifier. You know, I wonder what that has for a, does it have an early alternator or what? Looking back here, the speedo drive on the rear, looks like a smaller, maybe a 6-inch drum brake. That's not the brake on this side, it'll be on this side. Of course, we've got these mechanical linkage, just like we had on the Constellation. Watch this part right here. That's the brake light switch. This is just all this to me is just gorgeous. Look at this cover, metal cover. Another interesting thing, another thing that makes this bike just jump out at me are the pipes. These kind of pencil thin, I don't know what they called them, but just as gorgeous exhaust pipes. Headers, really, you know, just fabulously done. Fabulously done. Lucas. You know, then coming up here, here's the seat. I don't know if this is original or not, but I can imagine it's something close to what an original one would look like. These barrel grips, Amal grips. I'm guessing a kill switch, a horn. That's amazing. Choke, steering dampener. Look at this cast steering head here, just gorgeous. Over here we've got an amp meter, and of course the chrome headlight. Then, you know, that's another thing about motorcycles from this era, the chrome headlights on a lot of them. Just an absolutely gorgeous machine. 2 throttle cables. I'm assuming that's 1 for each carburetor. Mechanical tack drive. Look at that. Right off the end of a cam, I'm sure. Right to the bottom of the tack. Just a beautiful, beautiful thing. Very good example of one, I would say. Like I said, when I saw this the other day, it just grabbed me. Absolutely gorgeous machine. If you have any interest in something like this, get a hold of Baxter Cycle at baxtercycle.com, or any of these other classic motorcycles. Are always getting new ones in. Every week it seems like new ones come in and go out, and so a lot to see. But anyway, hey, thanks for watching Throwback Thursday. Y'all get on your motorcycles and ride. Life's short. Wahoo!